Walk into any appliance showroom and you're surrounded by features, screens, sensors, special finishes, cycles you've never heard of. And a good many of them exist for one reason, to move you up to a more expensive model. Now, I'm not against nice things, and I'm not against new technology. Some of it is a genuine improvement. But after a lifetime of fixing these machines, I can tell you that a fair number of the features people pay dearly for either don't work the way the box promises, don't get used, or quietly turn into the exact thing that breaks. So today I'm not going to hand you a list of what to buy. I'm going to walk you through the features and the choices I'd tell you to be careful with, the ones that separate you from your money without giving you much back, and for each one, I'll give you the smarter alternative. Some of these are about not overpaying. A couple are about avoiding a design that'll fail you. And the last one is about something more important than money. None of it is meant to scare you off a nice kitchen. It's meant to help you spend where it counts and keep the rest in your pocket. Buy the machine, not the marketing. Let's get into it. Let's start with the dishwasher and with noise, because this is where a lot of folks overspend without realizing it. Here's the honest truth about dishwasher quietness. Anything at or under about 44 decibels is already whisper quiet in a real kitchen. At that level, you'll walk over and open the door mid-cycle because you genuinely can't tell it's running. And you can buy an excellent 44 decibel dishwasher today for right around $1,000 from several good brands. Now, the manufacturers will happily sell you something quieter, 37, 38, 39 decibels. Miele and Bosch make beautiful machines down in that range. But to get there, you're often paying several hundred to $1,000 more, and sometimes accepting a much longer wash cycle to boot. For most people, that is money spent on a difference you will struggle to hear. And here's the part the showroom won't stress. Quietness has almost nothing to do with how well the thing cleans. The quiet comes from insulation and a better isolated motor, not from wash power. A dishwasher's cleaning comes down to its spray design, its filter, and honestly how you load it. I've had people convinced they needed a $2,000 machine when their real problem was cramming the bowls so tight the water couldn't reach the middle rack. So don't let a low decibel number stand in for quality, and don't assume the expensive one cleans better. Often it just whispers while it does the same job. If you want to save real money, buy a reliable machine at 44 decibels or a touch under. And if you'd like it quieter still, without the premium, a couple of brands like KitchenAid now sell 39 decibel models for under $900. One more tip from the trade: a dishwasher that's properly installed and leveled, snug against the cabinet, will sound quieter than a fancier one that was rushed in. A loose machine rattles and hums against the cabinet no matter how good its insulation is. Installation matters as much as the sticker, so if you're paying for quiet, pay attention to who's putting it in. Next, let's talk about black stainless steel and the trendy finishes. Black stainless looks sharp in a photograph, I'll give it that, but let me tell you what it actually is: a thin coating laid over ordinary stainless steel. And a coating is exactly what it sounds like, a surface layer that can scratch, chip, and peel. When it does, it doesn't peel quietly. It leaves bright silver flecks showing through the black, usually right around the handles where your hands live. I've seen it come away from just a paper towel and a little cleaner. Now here's the part that ought to make you cautious. When that finish fails, the manufacturers call it a cosmetic issue, and cosmetic issues are not covered under warranty. So you can spend real money on a matched black stainless kitchen, watch it start flaking inside a year of ordinary use, and be told you're on your own. This isn't a rumor. There was a class action lawsuit against one of the big makers over exactly this, alleging that premium finish was little more than a thin coating prone to peel, and once it goes, it's genuinely hard to fix. Touch-up paint and a careful hand can hide it, but you'll always see it. The alternative is the boring one, and it's boring because it works. Plain stainless steel, it's still the most popular finish, it wears the best, it matches nearly any kitchen, and when it does get a scratch, that scratch is in solid metal, not in a coating peeling off a machine you're hoping to keep 15 years. On real stainless, a light scratch can often be buffed along the grain until you can barely find it. On black stainless, there's no buffing it out. You're painting over it and hoping the color matches, and it never quite does. If you don't love stainless, a good white or a solid factory color will also outlast a fashion finish. And here's a small bonus: A classic finish is far easier to match years later when you replace one piece and want it to sit next to the others. A repairable appliance is worth more than an impressive one, and that goes for the skin on the outside just as much as the parts on the inside. Now here's one where I'm going to update the old advice because the world actually changed, and I try to change with it. For years, the all-in-one washer-dryer combo was a machine I'd have steered you clear of without hesitation. The old ones, on standard household power, simply couldn't dry worth a darn. Worse, they had a nasty habit with lint. No good way to move it out, so it built up inside until it choked the machine, and you'd be looking at a service call that often cost more than the unit was worth. A fine idea on paper, a headache in the laundry room. But the newer generation is a different animal, and I won't pretend otherwise. There's now a class of ventless combos that use heat pump technology. LG's Wash Combo and GE's Profile are the ones you'll see, that wash and dry a load in something like 2 hours, run on a regular 120 volt outlet, and need no vent at all. That last part is the real gift. You can put one in a closet, an apartment, an upstairs corner, anywhere you couldn't run ductwork. And the early service data on these has actually come in right around the average for all washers and dryers, which tells me they're being built sensibly. So I've changed my tune with conditions because I owe you the honest ones. These combos are slower than a separate washer and dryer, and they handle a smaller load at a time. Figure the practical drying load is a good bit less than the drum looks like it could hold. So a big family's laundry day becomes several cycles instead of 2. And here's the important one. They still ask something of you on lint. There's a filter you clear after every load and a condenser you have to keep clean faithfully, or the drying performance falls right off. That's the trade for having no vent. The machine has to shed all that moisture and lint internally, and it can only do that if you keep the passages clear. Do it, and they're a genuinely good answer for tight spaces. Skip it, and you'll be right back to the old problem I used to warn people about. And because this generation is still young, only a couple years on the market in real kitchens, we don't yet have 20 years of proof they'll last 20 years. The early signs are good, but I've watched too many revolutionary machines look wonderful in year 1 and sorry in year 5 to promise you more than the record shows. So if you've got the room, my quiet preference is still a stackable washer with a separate heat pump dryer, ventless, gentle on close, and in Ohio winter it even puts a little warmth back in the room. But if space is your problem, the modern combo has earned an honest look. Maintenance matters, but for once, the technology finally met the maintenance halfway. Let's move to the kitchen and to the cooking features people pay for and then never touch. I've been in a lot of kitchens, and I've lost count of the steam ovens, the sous vide drawers, the speed ovens, and the fancy convection modes sitting unused because nobody ever learned them. These are real advances. A steam oven can do lovely things with bread and vegetables, and speed ovens really can cook faster. But every one of them asks you to change how you cook and to spend an afternoon learning it, and a feature you don't use isn't an upgrade. It's a line on the receipt, and often another circuit board that can fail down the road on a machine you paid extra for. So before you pay for one, ask yourself honestly, will I take the time to learn this, and will I reach for it on a Tuesday night? If the answer's yes, wonderful, buy it and enjoy it. If you're buying it because the salesman made it sound essential, that's the marketing talking, and that money is better left in your pocket. The one I'll single out is the air fry mode, built into so many new ranges. Here's the plain truth of it. Air fry is really just high heat convection with a fancy name. And a big oven cavity, with all that empty space, can't move air around your food the way a little countertop basket does. That's why a $15 bag of fries comes out crisp in a small air fryer and disappointing in a 5 cubic foot oven set to air fry. It's not that the mode is broken, it's that physics favors the small chamber where the hot air is forced right up against the food from every side. Some ranges even want you to buy a special tray to make the mode work at all, which rather gives the game away. So don't pay a premium for that badge on the control panel. If you love air fried food, a decent countertop air fryer runs $50 or $60, does small batches better, and heats up faster than your oven ever will. And for a big tray of vegetables or wings, your oven's convection and broil settings, used together, will crisp things up just fine. You already own that, and it never needed a new name. While we're at the range, Let me talk about choosing the wrong one for how you actually cook. And I'll be even-handed here because this one's genuinely a matter of preference. You'll see dual fuel ranges sold at a premium, pairing a gas cooktop with an electric oven, and plenty of good cooks love that combination. But understand what you're paying for. If what you want is the electric oven, you don't need dual fuel to get it. A standard electric or induction range has an electric oven already, usually for a good bit less. And if speed at the cooktop is your aim, induction actually boils water faster than gas, runs cooler in the kitchen, and wipes clean in a second. There's a catch with induction worth knowing before you buy. It only works with magnetic cookware, so if a refrigerator magnet sticks to the bottom of your pot, you're fine. If it doesn't, that pot won't heat, and you may need some new pans. Gas, on the other hand, gives you that instant flame you can see. Works with any pot you own, and it'll still light with a match when the power's out, which for some of us is reason enough. There's no single right answer. The mistake isn't picking gas or induction or dual fuel. The mistake is paying a premium for a configuration that doesn't match the way you cook. Figure out how you actually use a stove, then buy that, not the one with the biggest price tag. Now, I've saved the most important one for last, because if you get this wrong, it doesn't just cost you money, it costs you the air in your home. I'm talking about ventilation. Here's something most folks never think about. Cooking is one of the largest sources of air pollution inside your house. Searing, frying, roasting, all of it throws fine particles into the air, the kind small enough to get deep into your lungs, and a gas flame adds nitrogen dioxide on top of that. During cooking, those levels can climb past the limits we'd consider unsafe for outdoor air, right there over your stove where you're standing. This isn't fringe science. It's well documented by health agencies. And the single best defense against it is a range hood that actually ducts the air outside your home. Not a recirculating hood. One of those just pulls air through a filter and blows it right back into your kitchen. And study after study shows they capture only a fraction of what cooking puts out. If your hood doesn't vent outdoors, it's mostly for show. And this is where I'll say a hard word about downdraft vents, the kind that rise up out of the countertop behind the cooktop, popular on islands because they hide away. I understand the appeal, but they're fighting physics. Heat and smoke rise. A downdraft is trying to yank all of that back down and out, with no hood up top to catch it while it collects. In practice, they capture far less than a proper overhead hood. So if you're putting a cooktop on an island, my honest advice is to plan for an overhead vent, even though it means something hanging in your sightline. Function beats fashion when it's the air you breathe. Whatever you choose, a few things matter more than the brand. Size the hood to actually cover your cooktop and get enough airflow to match how you cook. A big gas range that puts out a lot of heat needs more pull than a modest electric one. Duct it to the outside, and then, this is the one people miss. Actually turn it on, every single time, and use your back burners where the hood catches best. Surveys have found people run their hood only about a third of the time they cook, usually because it's noisy or they just forget. But a good hood you never switch on does you no good at all. Of everything in your kitchen, this is the piece I'd tell you to plan first and hardest, because it's the one that touches your health, not just your wallet. So let me bring this all together. Don't overpay for a dishwasher a few decibels quieter than one you already can't hear. Skip the black stainless finish that scratches and won't be covered when it does. Buy the plain stainless that wears. Give the modern heat pump laundry combo an honest look if space is tight, but stay on top of that lint. Buy the cooking features you'll genuinely learn and use, and don't pay a premium for an air fry badge a $60 gadget beats. Choose your range for how you actually cook, not for the fanciest configuration, and above all, plan your ventilation like it matters, because it does. Here's the thread that ties every one of these together, and it's the whole reason I started this channel. The showroom is built to sell you more than you need. My job is to help you tell the difference between a feature that earns its keep and one that just runs up the bill, or, worse, sets you up for a repair. Simple usually lasts longer. Buy what you'll use. And a machine you can live with and keep for years is worth more than an impressive one you'll be arguing with the service department about. One honest word to close on. I'm not telling you never to buy something nice. I'm telling you to know what you're paying for and to make sure it's a thing that'll still serve you in 10 years and not just look good on delivery day. Spend your money on the parts that do the work and the parts that keep you healthy. The machine that cleans, the finish that wears, the vent that clears the air, and go easy on the badges and the finishes and the modes that mostly serve the price tag. Get those boring parts right, the finish that wears, the vent that works, the machine that a technician can actually fix, and the rest of your kitchen gets a whole lot easier to enjoy. That's been true every year I've been at this, and it'll be true long after the next round of features shows up on the showroom floor. If this helped you spend a little smarter, subscribe and stick around. I've got plenty more of these coming. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.